welcome to episode number 31 of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is March 28th, 2016. So, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're checking me out for the first time, then I hope you like it. I hope you will maybe consider subscribing and coming back every week. And if you're a regular viewer, then just thank you so much. So today I will talk about the knit-alongs that we are having at the moment, some finished objects, some works in progress, some spinning, some acquisitions, and life in general. And I just realized I forgot my first finished object, so I'll have to stop in a second and get it. But first of all, the knit-alongs. We have the Crazy Color Cal, which is running at the moment until May 13th. And that's a knit-along, or you can crochet as well, for anything colorful, anything that makes you happy, color-wise. So, of course, I love it when you guys are knitting rainbows and neons, but if you don't really knit with color, anything that is colorful for you goes. So don't be shy about entering your projects. And at that point, just thank you guys so much. The Ravelry group has been crazy active and I have been enjoying it so much. I really love coming back every day and seeing some new posts, and yeah, you guys have just been really great. So for the Crazy Color Cow, we have three prizes. I showed them to you last week, so if you haven't seen them yet, you might want to check out that episode, and I will bring them back in a few weeks, I think. But we have a skein of yarn of your choice by OMG Yarn and Fiber on Etsy. Then we have a cute set of mini skeins together with a tiny Japanese knot bag from All About Yarn, also on Etsy. And we have a very bright sock yarn called Pink Elephant with a mini for contrasting heels and toes by Shibot Garne, which is spelled S-C-H-I-B-O-T. So I can just encourage you guys to enter your finished objects, because I think the prizes are really great, and I'm really happy to be able to give them to you, because people have been very generous in donating prizes. So thank you to everyone who has done that. So the second knit-along that's going on is an informal one, and some people decided to join in with me on the Even Star shawl by Susan Pandorf. It's a circular shawl that I will show you in a second, and I wasn't really planning on having a knit-along for that, but a few people were interested, and it is quite a scary pattern, not because it's crazy hard, but just because it takes a lot of patience, and it is 19 pages of instructions. So it's really great to have a few people join in as well, and I love seeing everyone's progress. I know one person has overtaken me by far now. But yeah, so if you want to join in, that one doesn't have a deadline or anything, it's just a chatter thread. So you can come join whenever you want, and if you knit on it for the next year or two, it doesn't matter, because there's no rush. I just want to have some support. So that's it for knit-alongs. Moving on to finished objects. I can show you one finished object and then I have to go run. I feel like I have a pair of finished socks every week at the moment, which is great. I finished my first Harry Potter themed socks, and these are my Moody stockings. So this is a free pattern by Erica Luder, who has written the Hermione's Everyday Socks and so many great Harry Potter themed sock patterns, and all of them are for free. So like I said, this is the Moody stockings. Let me have some tea. And since it's a free pattern, I can basically tell you. So I did a 2x2 rib, which is my favorite rib, together with a 1x1 twisted rib. And then you have these sort of like garter stitch rows that separate these little patterns. So there's 4 charts, and you knit these little patterns, which are all made up out of knit some pearls, and then you're supposed to carry on knitting this 4th chart down here through the entire foot. But what I've done is I've knit the 4th chart, or chart D, only on the front of the sock. So I did the back in stockinette stitch, and that's because I wanted to insert a fish lips kiss heel. So the pattern gives you a different heel, but I just like that one. So I threw that heel in, and then what I've done is I've kind of changed or modified the pattern, because I abandoned the chart D pattern in the middle and just did this sort of stockinette with pearl ridges. All of this is in the project notes of my socks, so if you're wondering, you can look it up. But that means that I really wanted the yarn to be able to shine on its own as well without a pattern. And I really like having these sort of stockinette socks with a little bit of pearl ridges, just because they fit really great, because they're just a little bit more stretchy. Yeah, and I love these socks. Obviously I have two. The yarn is by Sternenstabwolle, which is also linked in the show notes. It's her starry sock base with bronze stellina, and the colorway is called Blühende Fantasie. So these socks are very much out of my comfort zone color-wise, because you know me, I like the bright colors, and this is pretty muted. It's also pretty green, and you might remember that I'm not a huge green fan, even though at the moment I seem to be only knitting on green things. But yeah, I really liked how this yarn worked out. I really like the yarn base. It's very soft and plump. I knit these on 2.25mm needles. I used 64 stitches. And yeah, I think that's about it. So that's my first finished object. So I've just grabbed my second finished object. So I have magically appearing hats, apparently. This hat is a hand-spun hat, which I knit without a pattern. It is spun. I spun it from 2 carded bats from Sarah's Texture Crafts, who I seem to mention every week for some reason. But I really like her fiber. She also sells yarn. Anyways, I spun up her bats into singles. This is her merino sparkle base, and then I just knit a hat. Originally I wanted to make some kind of sockhead hat, but then I was catching myself changing everything, so I realized I can just knit my own hat, and it's not that difficult. So what I've done is I've knit a twisted rib, I'll take it off in a second, and then a very, very slouchy stockinette hat. I hope you can see it. I knit this on 3.5mm needles, so here you can see the twisted rib, which is a little bit loose just because I've been wearing this hat so much and it probably needs a wash. And here you can get a close-up of the yarn, so I think it has knit up very well. I thought my singles were quite uneven, but it turns out, at least in the knitted fabric, they look really even, or more even than I thought they would be. And then I just kind of did I think I did 6 points where I decreased down to 8 stitches or something like that, and cinched it up. So like I said, I did this on 3.5mm needles, just kind of made it up as I went. And I used less than 50 grams of this yarn, which means that now I know that I can get 50-gram bats from Sarah, like just buy one of each, and then I could spin them into singles and make many colorful hats. Because this is a singles yarn and it's quite light, this is super, super soft, and it feels like you're wearing a cloud or something on your hat, on your head. So yeah, I'd really like to make some more of these. And also these make for really, really quick spinning projects, because I think like 50 grams of a bat into singles you can do in like an hour or 2, and then you can just knit it up and you have a colorful hat. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with that. And I think now I'll move on to works in progress. I'll talk about my even star shawl, which I'm knitting for our little Nalong. The yarn is by das Mondschaf. like I say every week, this is her lace, merino and silk, 50% wool, 50% silk, 700 meters per 100 grams. And because this base unfortunately is discontinued, I got it for half price. So I can show you the yarn. I have 200-gram skeins, so you can see my first one is quite small now. It is a 2-ply lace yarn, and my shawl is getting quite hard to show because it is quite large. So I have my shawl on a 150 centimeters or 60-inch cable, which you can see is way too small now because it's all scrunched up on the needles, but I'll try to show you anyways. So the stitch marker is where I was last week, so you can see at the end of that chart, which is chart 2, there's this really pretty lacy eyelet thing going on. And then so this week I did another increase row, which means I am now up to 560 stitches. And then you start chart 3, which looks like this, and I think this is the prettiest chart so far. It looks really pretty. It has a lot of twisted stitches and twisted knit 2 togethers and twisted slip knits, which was a bit unusual to get into the hang of it, but now I absolutely love it. What I'm doing right now is a 4-row repeat that you have to do 6 times, and I think I've done 3, and I'm thinking maybe I'll just repeat it 4 or 5 times because honestly it won't matter, and I feel like my shawl is very huge already. Like I can't imagine it getting even bigger, like already now. Like if this is the middle here, so just one side is already this big. Sorry, I don't feel like I'm showing this to you very well, but I don't really know how to show it to you. But anyways, I'm still going strong. This is the Even Star by Susan Pandorf. I'm knitting it on 3.5mm needles, and I'm using my Knit Pro interchangeables. I think the pattern is written for 3.25, but I didn't have that needle size, and I like my lace to be nice and loose and stretchy anyways, so I think it totally doesn't matter. Obviously, this is also my project for my crazy color cal. Not that I'm going to enter, but this is definitely a crazy color, even for me. You know me, I like my neons and I like my pinks, but this sort of greenish, yellowish neon color is very much out of my color scheme. So yeah, I really like it. And obviously now a row takes very long, but I'm just kind of doing it a little at a time, and it's working out really well. So like every week I can only encourage you guys to join in. Honestly, it looks like a really difficult project, but I don't think it is. It is truly just one stitch at a time. You just figure it out as you go, and it just takes a lot of patience. And I'm keeping this project in my Diary of a Yarn Snob bag, which I won and still love, and is perfect for this kind of project. And it says Yarn Snob, which suits me very well. So my second work in progress is my featherweight cardigan, which I cast on. I think I showed it to you last week, but I hadn't done very much. And I'm knitting this out of Holzgarn. And this is their coast base, which is a lamb's wool and cotton blend. And it's 700 meters per 100 grams. The colorway is Skylight, and it looks like this. It looks like a gray, but it really has some sort of blue turquoise kind of color to it, just very subtle. So I really like it. And the featherweight is of course a cardigan patterned by Hannah Fettig, which is knit top down. Let me just organize it. So this is what I've done so far. It's rolling up, of course, but you can see this is the top. There's the raglan increases, and I've separated for the sleeves. I've just put them on spare cables that I had lying around from my set, and I am now knitting on the body. So what I've done, since a few people have commented on the sleeves being tight, I increased 2 extra stitches on top of each sleeve and also increased 2 extra stitches at the bottom, or I picked up extra stitches. So I've tried it on and my arm goes through the hole, which is the main thing. So I think I'm going good. Hang on. Oh yeah, here's my stitch marker. So this is how much I've knit since last week. Most of this progress happened simply because I was at my parents' house yesterday and I just kind of knit on it every now and then when we were just sitting around. So yeah. For this project I'm using, you wouldn't believe it, I'm using my Knit Pro Naturals, which are the wooden interchangeables. I think they're the same as the Symphonies, they just don't have rainbow colors. And you might remember that I generally hate these. I love my Novas, I hate my Naturals. I only have this one set of tips, I don't have the set, thank God. But I was actually noticing that because the yarn is with cotton, it was hurting my hands, so I switched back to these wooden needles, which are helping me a little bit. And they are 3.5 millimeter needles. I think the pattern suggests a 4 millimeter, but my gauge was way off, and even with these needles I think my gauge is still a little bit off, so I'm trying to knit relatively tightly, which I think also makes my hands hurt a little bit. So I really like the yarn. It has great drape, it feels really great, and I think it'll block out really well. But I think I would enjoy this project on a different yarn more. I want to knit one in a nice merino kind of yarn. Simply because, like I said, it's not that stretchy and that's what makes my hands hurt. But I do still love this yarn. I just think I would rather use it for looser lace kind of projects. So I kind of ordered this with the intention of making a Hito Fude. And I think I might still do that because I have quite a lot of this yarn. Oh, and I need some input from you guys because I think I want to knit the collar in a different color. Well, that sounds confusing. So you pick up for this sort of button band around here. So this is the color I'm using for my main body, and I was thinking about pairing it with this color. I think this is my favorite solution at the moment. This is the plum colorway. I could also just be boring and pair it with this dark gray color, which is charcoal. And I have 3 balls of this, so I'd rather not use it for this, but I theoretically could pair this as well. This is the jade colorway, but I'm thinking about using this one for a Hito Fude. And I have a ball of this blue one, which I think would also look nice. So if you want, you can give me some input on what you think would look best. I think I'm leaning towards the plum. So yeah, that's my featherweight cardigan. And it's living in a bag that I made a few weeks back. Nothing fancy, just a normal bag. My next work in all my other works in progress are works that you haven't seen before. So I've cast on 3 pairs of socks this week, which is kind of insane. But as you might have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, one of them has already been frogged, and the yarn actually has been given away. So I wanted to knit some fine and dandy socks. So I downloaded the pattern. It's by the Sweater Co. And I, for the first time ever, did a toe-up sock. So I learned how to do Judy's Magic cast on, and I knit them 2 at a time. So it all worked out relatively well. I mean, for me, it was a new skill, so it took a little bit getting used to, but it worked out fine and I started on the pattern, but I just didn't enjoy it at all. I don't think I enjoy top socks. I really didn't want to give up right after just doing the toes, so I forced myself to knit a little bit on it, and I think I did 2 or 3 pattern repeats. But I don't know, for me knitting socks bottom up is just so fiddly, like there's no stability in the sock, and I didn't enjoy it at all. And I was using the hand-dyed yarn that I showed you last week. And again, I don't know, objectively I think the yarn is pretty, but I just didn't like it. I think I was just being very, very paranoid about using my own yarn and finding things I didn't like, and I really don't know, I just hated the project, so I forgot these. So that was sock number 1 that I worked on and already have taken apart again. Then I cast on this pair of socks, which is out of my hand spun yarn that I showed you the last week or the week before. This is a 3-ply sock yarn that I hand spun on my Woolmaker's Bliss. The fiber was from Fondant Fiber in her New York in the Dark colorway. It's a merino nylon braid. And I've got 420 meters of this yarn, which I chain plied, so it's my first ever chain plied sock yarn. And I absolutely love this. You might remember that I knit hand spun socks out of a 2-ply yarn, and that was fine, but this is completely different. It feels so much nicer, they're so much more sturdy. I think someone asked me what I prefer, and back then I couldn't say, but now I can only tell you I prefer a 3-ply sock yarn so much more over a 2-ply. So I'm knitting them again 2 at a time, and this is what they look like. I hope the camera isn't blowing them out because they aren't gray. There's lots of pink and some brown. There's really nice colors in here, but I feel like because the light is very, very bright today, I feel like the colors aren't showing up necessarily as well as they could be. But because this yarn is a little thicker, and also because I seem to have all my socks a little bit too loose at the moment, I think my gauge loosened up. I'm knitting these on 60 stitches rather than 64. And I absolutely love the fabric that I'm getting. I feel like it's very, very even and soft, and at the same time it feels a lot sturdier than my 2-ply socks. So I did 20 rows of 1x1 twisted rib, and now I'm just knitting a stockinette sock. I feel like I'm already waffling on about these long enough, but yeah, I love these. And what I love even more is my needles. So this is the first time that I'm using my Haya sharps. Haya sharps in the 3.25 millimeter, I think that's a US 1. And I'm using the 40-inch or 100 centimeter cable. I love these so much. I actually spent like 2 hours last night looking on the internet on getting some more because I think they're perfect. You might remember that I also got some Adilace sock needles, and I don't hate them, but I love these so much more. I got used to the sharp tips very, very quickly, and I love them. And these also have the perfect join. I think tip-wise I would definitely compare them to the Adis, but I just love the join a little bit more, and the cable has less of a memory. So yeah, I very much love these needles, as everyone seems to do. I think everyone loves Haya sharps. But I think Sue and Chelsea were saying that for them Hayas are really cheap, whereas the Adilace are quite expensive. But I think over here it's the other way around. And there's no stores where I can buy them. So yeah, I need to order them online. But yeah, I really, really enjoy them. I enjoy the yarn. And it's working really well. And this one is living in my Mina Mix bag, which I also won. So my last work in progress is also a pair of socks. I think at the moment I could only knit on socks and I would be very happy for a long time. Let me have some tea. So these socks I cast on because I just thought they're the perfect Easter socks. Because look at these colors. This is yarn from Felt Fusion on Etsy. You have to ignore my messy cake. I think I wound this like 3 times, but somehow I just never managed to get a nice looking cake. And every time I rewound them, it got worse. But anyways, it's her standard sock base. It's got these really bright greens and yellows and pinks and whites, and for me this just screams spring and Easter. I think I got this sometime last year, and already then I was thinking this has to be my Easter socks. And this was part of her yarn club. Honestly guys, I looked for the tag. I know I had it somewhere, but with Felt Fusion yarns I always lose a tag. I don't know why. Usually I'm not too terrible with that, but I actually ran through my apartment this morning looking for the tag because I can't remember the colorway either. But I'm so sorry, you might have to look it up online. Or maybe I can. But this, like I said, is her standard sock base. I think it's 400 meters per 100 grams, and I really, really like it. I've only knit with her glitter sock base, which was also nice, but I sometimes actually prefer now just a standard sock base over the glitter ones, because I feel like the Stellina bases often are very, very soft and tend to pill. But yeah, this was from her yarn club, and I'm not really sure if my pattern goes with my yarn, but I decided to knit another pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks. So I'm sticking to my Harry Potter theme at the moment. Hermione's Everyday Socks, I'm sure you guys all know, is another pattern by Erica Luder. It's a free pattern, and my socks are being a bit weird. This is what I've done so far. So I've done 20 rows, I think, of 2x2 ribbing. And then I've started the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, which is a 4-stitch repeat, I guess, over 4 rows. And yeah, I was pretty smart because I again cast it on in 64 stitches, even though every time I finish a pair of socks, I tell myself I should probably go down to 60 stitches because every time they become a little bit baggy, which I don't like. And I think that's not because my feet have changed, but because since I'm knitting them 2 at a time on Magic Loop, my gauge has loosened up. Because I'm sure if you've knit Magic Loop, or especially 2 at a time socks before, you know that if you knit too tight, it's getting quite hard to push the needles over the stitches. So anyways, I started with 64 stitches and then decided around here that I want to go down to 60 stitches. But because it's a pattern, a very, very simple pattern, but nevertheless a pattern, it was quite hard to figure out how to decrease. Because in order to keep the pattern intact, I would have had to decrease 4 stitches in one place. But I think that would give the sock a weird shape. So in the end, I just kind of fudged it and I decreased my 4 stitches evenly, and now the pattern doesn't quite line up anymore, but I think in the grand scheme of things, no one will know. But yeah, this is what the pattern looks like. I'm not sure if it's the best sort of sock yarn to use with this, because the sock yarn itself is quite busy, but I really like it. And these socks give me so much happiness. I love her yarn base. It's soft and stretchy and light, and yeah, I just love it very much. And these are my Adi lace needles. And as you can already see, they have so much of a memory, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't hate them. I love the tips. I love the sharp tips. But I think I prefer the higher highs. I hate to say it, but I do. Talking about Felt Fusion, I totally fell into a rabbit hole because she just announced on Facebook that she has another yarn club, and this time it's a Alice in Wonderland yarn club. And I mean guys, I just had to get some. And the thing is that I think she ships around mid-May, so I figured if I get myself a spot in a yarn club, it'll be like giving myself a birthday present. And it actually was quite affordable because I would love to take part in like the hedgehog yarn clubs, but that is just so much out of my price range. So yeah, I might have ordered 2 skeins for her yarn club, and if you guys are interested, you should check out her Facebook. I don't think she posted it on Etsy at all, but if you look for Felt Fusion on Facebook, you can maybe join me. That's it for my works in progress, and since we're talking about yarns anyways, I wanted to ask you guys a question. So I realized that I knit with a lot of German yarns, and I also realized that the majority of my viewers are in the UK, in Canada, and in the States, which is great. So I was just wondering if you guys are bored or if it interests you if I talk about German yarns. I mean, obviously I'm not going to change my buying habits. If you say you're not interested in that, I might just talk about it a little less. Because I like to really support what's around me, and I think here in Germany we actually have a great amount of yarn. We have so many dyers, and yeah, I quite like it. I just wanted to get your feedback if you think I should talk less or the same or more about that kind of stuff, because I mean, obviously for me it is interesting, I guess, but I could imagine if someone waffles on about sock brands and you don't understand the language and you're probably not going to be able to get these yarns, it might be quite boring or frustrating for you guys. So just let me know what you think. And with that, I think I will move on to spinning because I've only knit like half a square into my memories blanket this week. So that's not really worth showing you guys. So I'm still spinning on my sock yarn. This fiber I got from Elfenwolle on Etsy. I really like her stuff and I do stock her store quite a lot. I'm trying to resist at the moment. This is her colorway Ice Palast and it's 67% wool, merino superwash, 33% nylon. And I got this as a present from G, which was really, really cute, and she picked the most amazing colorway. So last week I've only done a little bit and I've just kept on spinning on it, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see, there's so many colors in here. I really, really love it, and I split the braid into very thin strips, so the color changes are very, very rapid. And I'm planning to 3-ply this, so I have no idea how it's going to come out in the end. I have no idea how it's going to knit up, because with the handspun yarn that I'm showing you, I'm knitting on at the moment, the color repeats are quite slow, but with this one it'll be a lot more interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to finish this. I've only been spinning it like 10 or 15 minutes at a time because I seem to get backaches when I spin. So I sit up very straight when I spin, which I would think would keep me from getting backaches, but my back really hurts after a while, so I'm trying to just take it slow. So if you guys have any suggestions what I could do, please do let me know. I do really try to not, sit in an unhealthy way, but it doesn't seem to be helping. So that's slowing me down quite a bit. But yeah, I really like how it's coming out. I hope my yardage will be fine. I'm spinning it relatively thin, but I'm still finding it hard to judge my 3-ply sock yarn because my standard used to be 2-ply for such a long time. But yeah, that's it for my spinning. I'd really like to finish spinning the singles and possibly ply it this week. But it's going to be a busy week, so maybe not. And with that, I will move on to acquisitions. I only have one thing this week, which is a good thing. So, you might have realized in the last few episodes that my boyfriend has actually been supporting my yarn habit quite a bit. He's become very, very knit-worthy. So whereas about 3 months ago he actually didn't even want any hand-knit socks, he now loves them and wants more, and he's very, very knit-worthy. And he gave me some really nice yarn last week, so I thought I might reciprocate. Because I mean, if I buy him yarn, it's a present for him, but also for me. And actually, a viewer suggested this yarn brand to me, so I have this thread in the Ravelry group, which is called German Indie Dyers, where I just wrote the information about the indie dyers that I've been using, so you guys have a source to look up these shops. And a lovely viewer also posted some of her favorites, which was great, and I can only encourage you to do so as well. And this is Frau Odersocke. You can see her label here. Let's see if it focuses. Like I said, she's German, and she has so many colorways, and they are ridiculously cheap. I mean, I always feel weird talking about prices on the podcast, but this yarn has such an amazing price point. So anyways, I got this colorway for my boyfriend, and this is called Espresso Latte. And he picked it because my boyfriend is way too picky about his yarn. I wouldn't dare to buy anything for him because he is just super picky about his colors and everything. But I love this colorway name because I love coffee. So I totally kind of would have bought this anyways, just because I love a yarn that's called Espresso Latte. This is her 75-25 wool polyamide blend, 420 meters per 100 grams. And you can see it has this sort of dark reddish brown and then streaks of lighter brown and natural colors. And I really like it. And of course now he wants me to knit it for him right away, but I think I want to knit some socks for me first. And because this was ridiculously cheap and one doesn't only order one skein, I treated myself to one skein as well because it's a rainbow. It's a rainbow yarn. This is her same base. It's called Wolken Regenbogen, so cloud rainbow, I guess. And you can see half of the skein, or a bit less, is this sort of nice gray, which I really like. And then you have all the colors of the rainbow. And I love this so much. It's very bright. I think it's going to be super, super fun socks. And again, I think this cost me maybe 7 euros. It's really, really good value. And the base feels really nice. I think it's one of the normal sock yarn bases. It's nothing fancy, but it feels really nice. Well, that is quite soft, and I like how vibrant the colors are. So yeah, that's my only acquisition for this week, which is good. I've been trying to be good because I know that next month, or I guess in May, is my birthday month, and I will probably go crazy then. So I'm trying to knit from stash, and the good thing is because I was home so much with my toothache and everything, I've actually been able to knit a lot, and I feel like I'm actually knitting a lot from my stash as well. So that's it for acquisitions. Before I go into live, for those of you who don't want to listen to that, just very quickly, you can find me on Ravelry as Wipfi, which is WUEPFI. I have the same name on Periscope, but I don't Periscope, I just use it to watch other people. But if you want to follow me, maybe one day I will do something and you'll get a notification. Then we have a Ravelry group, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast. I'm on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast, and I post mostly yarn related stuff, but every now and then you get a glimpse into my life as well. And this week I actually decided to have a little revival of my blog. So before I started podcasting, I used to have a knitting blog, and that was around the time when I started to become more serious about my knitting and discovered this whole world of blogs out there where you can just, through WordPress, you can subscribe and get notifications. And yeah, around the same time I discovered Ravelry, so that was really at the beginning of my crazy knitting obsession. And I used to have a blog in German, and I didn't have crazy amounts of followers, but I kind of tried to post regularly, and it was quite nice. But then when I started podcasting, it just kind of went downhill. And I forced myself to still, write a little bit about my finished objects, but I wasn't really doing it with great love and enthusiasm. And I think around Christmas time I just stopped, or in November I think, because I just felt like I wasn't really loving it, and I didn't want to be doing something half-heartedly. And obviously with the podcast and show notes and everything, it's quite a bit of work. But because I was stuck at home with my toothache, I decided to just kind of restart it, and I changed the address. So now if you want to look it up, it's just happyknittingpodcast.wordpress.com. So you might want to check it out. I don't think I'll post show notes there, just because I feel like the podcast has its group and it's easier to just post the show notes in the groups, and that way you have all the links. But I feel like I have some thoughts about things that I want to write about. Of course, all knitting and spinning and yarn related. So, but I don't know where it's going to go. Probably also depending on you guys. You might want to check it out. Yeah, and I think that's all the places where you can find me. Do please feel free to take part in our knit along threads, and I also have an introduction thread on Ravelry where you can tell me a little bit about yourself. So, for life in general, if you want to stick around, thank you so much. If not, that's fine. Thank you so much for watching. So you might remember that last week I was recording right like 3 days after getting out my last wisdom tooth. So I was actually quite embarrassed about that, and I felt like the quality of the recording wasn't up to what I wanted it to be. But anyways, so after that I kind of got very impatient because I just wanted to be well again, and I was feeling okay but not great, and then the pain didn't really go away as fast as it should go. So last Wednesday I think I went back to the dentist, and he had a look again, and he took out my stitches, which was good. And yeah, I think I've just been very impatient. You know that feeling when you're sick and then you get better and you start getting bored because you're not that sick anymore, but you're also not 100% healthy, and it's just been a bit frustrating. But anyways, that meant I had a lot of knitting time, and I was trying to focus on my thesis as well, but I have been finding it quite hard. And I think now this week I just really need to get into the swing of things again. I actually have a meeting tomorrow actually. Anyways, so I just met up with friends, and then on Saturday we drove down to my hometown, which is Rothenburg. In fact, we wanted to drive down and walk to my car and wanted to start it, and it didn't start. And the thing is with my car, which I absolutely love, this year hasn't been a good year. In, I think, January or February, I had the first problem when the handbrake froze in. So we had to basically force the car out, and we took it for a drive so the car would all go back to normal, and packed it. And then a few weeks later I wanted to take it back to my parents' house so my dad could have a look at it and make sure everything's okay, because my dad is a car guy. And then my car was parked in, because I have to park my car in this huge parking spot because we live in the middle of the city and there's no parking spaces there. And anyways, people had parked so stupidly that I couldn't get my car out. So my car was stranded for I think 2 weeks, because I think theoretically you could call someone to, pull out the other cars, but I didn't want to go through all that. So anyways, my car was stranded for a while, and then on Saturday I was looking forward to finally drive my car home and get the summer tires exchanged while I'm home and everything, and the car wouldn't start because the battery was dead. And at that point I was a little bit frustrated, because it's the third time that we wanted to drive to my parents' house or somewhere, and every single time we end up taking my boyfriend's car, and he doesn't very much like driving, and I can't drive his car, so it's just a little bit more of a hassle. So anyways, we changed cars. We drove down to my parents' place. We had a very, very nice Easter. I visited my cousin and her kids. I think they're 2, 3, and 5, I think. And I hadn't seen them in ages. It was really, really nice. And because the weather was actually quite nice on Saturday, we managed to sit outside for a little bit and play with the kids, and that was very, very nice. And then the rest of the time we just hung out with my family, and on Easter Sunday we had a big Easter brekkie, so my grandparents came around for breakfast, and even though my sisters and I are quite old now, my mom still likes to, hide a little gift or hide some Easter eggs and chocolates, and we go around the apartment looking for them, which is still quite fun. I mean, even at my age, it's still fun to look for Easter eggs. And yeah, we just ate so much. It was ridiculous. And we did a Easter walk, I guess, even though it was kind of rainy and windy and not very nice at that point. I think we walked, it was 8 degrees Celsius. But anyways, and then last night we went out for a Greek dinner, which was amazing. Again, I feel like I can never eat again because we just ate so much on the weekend, but it was great fun. And then we drove back here to Würzburg, and this morning my dad picked me up and fixed my car for me, which was great. Essentially, he just jump-started it and left my mom's car here, so I have a car to drive home next week. And he drove my car home, which is now happily running again. And I hope the battery doesn't actually have any damage. It's just that it's old and, has been sitting there for too long because it was parked in. So that was quite nice because honestly, I don't have much of an idea about cars, and just the idea of how to, find someone to figure out, I won't even get into that. I was very happy when my dad just offered that he's here anyways and he'll just fix it for me. Anyways, I have a very, very busy week ahead. I'm quite nervous about my thesis meeting tomorrow because I have quite a few questions, and I just want to clear up with my guy that time-wise I'm still in a good spot, that I'm not behind on anything. I don't think I am, but I'm finding it very hard to judge. Also, my boyfriend, who has been applying for jobs while still working, so he's been crazy busy. He has a very, very fantastic and important interview on Thursday in Munich, and we're trying not to get our hopes up, but failing because it would just be so amazing. And so he's going down for a few days and catching up with friends as well. So if you guys want, you can totally cross your thumbs for us, because that would be amazing if that worked out. That would be such a relief. And yeah. So yeah, I'm just waffling on now. So I think I'll just let you guys go. But honestly, thank you again for being so chatty in the Ravelry group and supportive. And I love hearing from you guys. So if you want to shoot me a message or ask me something, totally go ahead. I love hearing from you guys. And I also thought it was really fantastic how a few weeks back I was kind of mentioning that I am a bit overwhelmed with podcasting and taking a step back, and all you guys understood, and now I feel like so much more motivated again. And yeah, it's been really great. So I hope that you guys have a lovely Easter Monday. I'm not sure when this video will be up, depending on my internet connection, but it should still be up pretty soon. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I hope that even if you have busy lives, you get to knit a couple of stitches or spin a little bit, and maybe you guys can, share what you're working on. And yeah, all the best. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.